Elektra is the next film in my female superhero solo films that have come out before Wonder Woman comes out this June. I reviewed Catwoman last month. If you haven't seen that, I will put a link to Catwoman in the description below. But today I am talking about Elektra, because I said I would talk about Elektra. Elektra came out in 2005, and it is springboarding off of the success of Daredevil 2003. This one once again stars Jennifer Garner as Elektra and a host of other people that I really just don't care to mention. Although they did drag poor Terrence Stamp into this movie. Yeah, Terrence Stamp, General Zod from Superman 2, he's in this movie. Doesn't really do much of anything, but he's in this movie. And I can say about Jennifer Garner, I mean, obviously she's really hot, and obviously she makes a really hot Elektra, and she's fine as hell. We get that. The one thing I can say for her is that she looks great in the Elektra outfit. She does. She looks great in the outfit. The outfit is great. It has great color, great detail. It looks just like some of Elektra's outfits from the comics. It looks really good. You can't really complain about the outfit too much. She looks great in the outfit. Obviously, that body just looks... Beyond that, though, no. So Elektra starts off and we get this really boring narration and exposition from Stick. You know, he has to explain to you the entire story. He has to explain to you about Elektra, you know, in case you don't know who Elektra is or you forgot who she was in Daredevil. Pretty soon you realize that that's all this movie really has to offer you in terms of storytelling. It's just a bunch of really boring and confusing flashbacks, some flash forwards that don't always make a lot of sense, and a bunch of exposition because they can't trust that you could figure anything out on your own, so they just have to tell you the whole story. By the way, it takes them about a minute to do this, and that pretty much bodes, you know, not that good for the rest of the story going forward. Elektra's first scene in this movie where she's supposed to be killing this dude, and it's one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. Now, this opening scene is horrendous, and it pretty much sets the tone for the rest of the movie because of the ridiculous amounts of bullshit that happen in this opening scene. Okay, first there's this guy that's just sitting in a chair, and he's just basically giving this long monologue and soliloquy about Elektra. And again, this is just boring exposition because the audience can't be trusted to know anything, and he has to explain to you who Elektra is. We don't exactly know why this is or what this is, but it's happening and you just have to roll with it, and here's all the information that you need. Okay, so then she kills his #1 henchman in a really poorly edited sequence, but then look at the rest of this scene. I'm about to point some things out to you.
We are at last.
Okay, first things first, why the hell is her hair blowing everywhere? Like, did they leave a window on in that bitch? Like, is the AC on super blast? Right, is there a tornado warning outside? I don't get it. Why is her hair blowing everywhere? It blows in her face. She doesn't even do anything about it. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's like, okay, so the air is magical, or maybe she has her own personal whoosh. We see at different points in this movie, she's able to supernaturally move like Batman with no explanation whatsoever, but whenever she does, there's always a whooshing noise. Yeah, so maybe that's what happened. Maybe she had her own whoosh, and maybe the wind was whooshing back at her. Maybe it's just a whole bunch of whoosh, 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 whoosh. And then the actual kill of the guy is one of the most poorly edited things that I've ever seen. And then you realize that the rest of the movie is going to be just like this.
So what happens now? You just kill me straight out, just cold?
Don't worry. That's not that bad.
How do you know?
I died once.
First of all, let's think about this from a filmmaking standpoint. Okay, she walks up to him, or she like whooshes up next to him in her supernatural way. She gets next to his ear and she says, "I've died before." And then in the very next shot, she's 10 feet away from him, throws the knife and kills the dude. Realize how ridiculous that would have been to film? Could you realize that, okay, she walks up to his ear and then she whispers in his ear, and then what? She does the Michael Jackson moonwalk 10 feet back so that she can throw the knife at him again? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, why didn't she just kill the dude when you were next to his ear? You didn't need to do all of this, and it's just, no, that's stupid. I have to talk about the editing for a second, because the editing in this movie is some of the worst editing that I have seen in a superhero movie probably ever. The editing is horrendous. It's awful. It's a travesty. It's a disgrace. It's complete and utter shit. Like, there's a scene later on in the movie where Elektra is running in between the trees in a forest, and she's running really fast because she's trying to protect some people that she, you know, eventually grew to care about or whatever, and then she's running between the trees. In between the trees, she like disappears for no reason. There's a whooshing noise, and then she disappears. It's not like you can see like, oh, okay, well, the trees are just blocking her from view, and that's why. No, that's not what happens. She like literally disappears from frame for a couple of seconds, even going past the next tree, and then she like reappears again in between them. It doesn't make any sense. It looks like she's teleporting between the trees, which we know is impossible, but then again in this movie a whole bunch of illogical bullshit happens, so you just kind of have to roll with that too. Oh, the pacing really sucks too. It takes about 30 minutes for the story in this movie to actually start. Yeah, in the first 30 minutes nothing really happens. Elektra walks around a house, she organizes some fruit in an OCD kind of way, she works out, she has flashback dreams. That's it. There's really nothing else of consequence that is happening. Eventually, she runs into this girl, and then she meets the girl's father. Apparently, the Hand wants this girl really, really bad, and then Elektra develops a conscience, and she has to protect them from the Hand, and that's pretty much the story. That's it. We don't even know why the Hand wants this girl other than the fact that she's apparently a prodigy and she's really good at fighting, she's really smart. Outside of that, we don't really know why they want her all that much. Don't know what they plan to do with her. For example, later on in the movie, you know the death lesbian, you know that famous scene where she kisses Elektra and then everything dies around them? Okay, she says later on in the movie, I used to be a treasure, I think that's what it was called. They call the prodigies treasures in this movie. So she says, I used to be the treasure, and then she says, well, I don't like being replaced, and she tries to kill the new treasure. But here's my thing. So is that what they were going to do with the new treasure? Were they just going to turn her into a gothic death lesbian and give her powers? Or does she already have those kind of powers? I don't know. The movie doesn't bother to explain this shit. We never see her actually demonstrate any kind of power or ability. She has this chain that she likes whipping people with, but that's about it. Other than the fact that she can fight really good, and she still isn't even as good a fighter as Elektra. Why do we care about this girl? Why does the Hand care about this girl? Nothing makes sense in this movie at all. Again, this editing is... oh my god, the editing is so bad. Like, seriously, I have no idea how they thought that the editing in this thing was passable for a theatrical release. There's another scene where Elektra, obviously, no shit, she was hired to kill the girl and her father, and then she gets like this crossbow with a scope on it, and she's about to kill them. This looks like complete and utter shit. I mean, it's this really fast drum beat, and then cuts back and forth between Elektra, and then them in the house, and then all the stuff that she saw in the file about them, and it just cuts so rapidly between all three of them. And I know what they're doing. They're trying to ramp up tension for the moment, but it just doesn't work. It's really, really stupid. I'm trying to tell you, the editing, it's all-time bad here. All-time bad. So we get past the lesbian death scene where she kisses Jennifer Gardner, the best scene in the movie otherwise, and then we get to the finale where obviously Elektra has to fight against the generic Asian villain who I don't even remember his name. I don't know, I don't care, none of the villains matter in this movie, so why even talk about it? She's fighting him in a really poorly edited sequence, and apparently she can't fight her way out of sheets. You know, they had to recreate the same thing that they did in Daredevil at the end when they're fighting in a bunch of sheets. No, they did the same thing here, except here it doesn't really make any sense.
We meet again.
Not only is this scene really bad and you can't tell what's going on, which, granted, you could argue maybe that's what the filmmakers were going for. Maybe they were trying to surround her face with a whole bunch of white sheets, and then, you know, like, she wouldn't be able to tell what was going on, and so we would feel what she's feeling. Then, logically, you gotta look at the scene and go, no, it really doesn't make that much sense. Why are there sheets flying in the air in the first place? The guy that she's fighting, is that his power? He can manipulate bed sheets? He can manipulate cloth? Is that his power? He's Cloth Man? At no point in this movie has he demonstrated any kind of telekinetic ability or power or whatever, so it doesn't make any sense whatsoever why there are sheets flying in the air around him. Is there a window open? Again, I am asking again, is there a tornado warning in this movie that they don't want to tell us about? I don't even want to talk about this movie anymore. Fuck! Then we get to another final fight between her and him, and it's really shitty editing. Again, it looks bad. You can hardly tell what's going on. It's just a whole bunch of fast moves and stuff like that. She, of course, wins, and then the movie's over. And again, I just don't want to talk about this movie anymore. Another thing, Jennifer Gardner and her performance in this movie, I feel like she didn't want to be there. Like, she looked like somebody force-fed her drugs, like morphine and Vicodin. She has, like, this really blank, emotionless look on her face for most of of the movie. In other words, she feels like Jennifer Gardner in X-Men Apocalypse from last year. Like, she just feels like she doesn't want to be there. I think there could have been an opportunity for some really great chemistry between her and the girl Abby in this movie, who probably has the best personality of anyone in the movie. Everyone else is just kind of a blank piece of shit, but she actually feels like a person. So I feel like there was potential there. In fact, this movie had little morsels of potential in it all around. It's just nothing really works. There's a bunch of confusing flashbacks that don't really make a lot of sense when you really think about them.
And why is there no mention of Daredevil? Like, there's no mention at all of Matt Murdock, Daredevil, or anything that happened in the Daredevil movie. Like, what the fuck? How come nothing gets mentioned?
There is no real story, there is no real conflict, because you don't really know what the Hand is after and what they hope to achieve and anything like that. And the editing is... oh god. The movie is not as offensively bad as Catwoman, but that doesn't mean that it's a good movie. In fact, it's a really, really bad movie. So even though I don't hate it as much as Catwoman, it's still getting the same damn grade. Alright guys, that's my review of Elektra. Supergirl is up next, and I just, maybe I'll be dead by the end of this month and I won't have to. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel.